Tartarian Truthers with your hosts, Casey and JoJo. Our last episode received such great feedback, and now we're here to bring you part two. In the last episode, we dove deep into Australia and its connections with Antarctica.
We did, JoJo. So we learned about the Antarctic Treaty and how that kind of works, and the International Geophysical Year of 1957 to 58. We learned about Sir Douglas Mawson and his disastrous exhibitions, not to mention his Schmeishmation connections. We learned that Antarctica is closed for exploration, and finally, we announced that we were going to be bringing on our mate Darcy Corboy to have a bit of a chat with us about flat Earth. So welcome, Darcy.
G'day. How are we? Been looking forward to saying that.
G'day, mate. It is actually I know, it's so good to have you on. We've been chatting, guys, for now like months. I think you've been with us from the very beginning, and it's so good to have you with us today, mate.
But firstly, all credit to you two for this magnificent program you've put together. Three's a crowd. Like, you two have done an amazing job by presenting these great stories, and awfully thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Darcy.
Oh, that's very lovely, Darcy. Thank you so much. But you did give us a kick in the pants, to get back on track. So we do owe you a bit of credit, mate. So
waiting for something new.
But you've brought up some great topics, and this is why we are here today. So we want to discuss your thoughts on Antarctica and how it actually fits into the whole flat Earth theory. We actually had a little bit of backlash last week, guys.
Yeah.
We actually had a little bit of backlash just last week. Not last week, sorry, last episode. That's actually a couple of weeks ago now. Because we mentioned flat Earth, and not a lot of people were happy about that. But you know what we were thinking, Darcy? Should we refer to you perhaps as a flat earther from a biblical standpoint? Have you actually heard that term before?
Yeah, well, there's bits of both. You've got biblical and you've got scientific. They both really go hand in hand with a lot of things, really. But there's denominations coming from all walks of life. So I think just outright flat earther. I'm a traditional Catholic, which is controversial enough for being a flat earther, but it's there's just too much information there to go around. So I think just all outright flat earther, really. Basically, like, we've got there's references to the true shape of the world and everything, really, but the sacred geometry pattern in plants. You've got, this is my own little meme in the corner here, but like, you can sort of see a pattern, which in my mind and what my experience with the horses is, it kind of looks like a lower model of the true shape of the world. And then you've also got what's the other one? The turtle shell theory, which is it's a calendar. But there's creation shows itself. Well, there's one there from our great friend Level Playing Poems. She's great. But there's another theory again. So creation, God shows His creations through His creation. So there's you can look at it from all angles. But basically, but there's just too much information to ignore, and that's sort of how I fell into the flat Earth. I was, like a lot of people, was questioning things that were happening 3 years ago, and I was sort of forced to look in research, and knowing what we know about the Schmeishmations, and then and the way they overtook the world, and the Catholic Church, which was the main sort of governing body at the time. I was sort of knowing what they've done. You could just I just had to keep digging and digging and digging. Then I come across flat Earth, and I was sort of hook, line, and sinker. I'm gone. So it's
Yeah,
whack.
Yep.
that's it.
Yeah.
And look, we're not here to try and push any theory on any of our subscribers or any of our viewers, and we're not going to shy away from something because it's a little bit controversial. You know,
Mm-mm.
we're just here to kind of present information, talk to someone who's got a bit of knowledge in the area and is happy to share that with us and with everyone listening. So, that's what we're here to do today, right, guys?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, guys, not for nothing, but most of the people in the world do believe that we're on a spinning ball, We're apparently rotating at 1,600 kilometers per hour whilst orbiting the sun at 108,000 kilometers per hour, all while hurtling through space at 675,000 kilometers per hour. Like,
Yeah.
this is just what we've been taught. And when you do just stop and look up, you don't feel that movement. I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think most people believe that. Well, I've believed it for the majority of my life because that's what we've been indoctrinated, from kindergarten,
Yep.
preschool even, when we learn about space and the planets and, we're taught that that's what's happening, right from the day we're born. So, and that all started really, we're 70s and 80s babies, but that started way back during the International Geophysical Year, didn't it? In the
Yeah, that's
50s.
correct.
Yeah.
And even further back again, like, it goes right back to the 1600s or earlier, the 1500s. Like, there's definitely some sort of cultish type push.
Mm.
And the same geocentric model that we've been using for hundreds of years is, our new technology now has gone past that. Like, you can get a P900 camera and zoom out, well past the official, what do you call it, the narrative of, they say 8 inches per square mile is
Mm.
curvature, but we can zoom out and see images a lot further. And most people that think we live on a ball spinning through space, they don't actually know what they don't actually know. They just believed it because someone told them at kindergarten.
Yeah,
It sort of
that's right.
starts up from there. So I've said to a lot of people, how fast are we spinning? How many times will we rotate around the sun? Most of the time, they don't know what I'm saying. So most flat earthers know the globe model better than the globers.
Yep.
And it's only because we took an interest and started to question. Like, they've got all these balls on the screen here. No
The famous blue marble, you
the
mean?
blue marble, yeah. Like, none of them look the same at all. Like, there's completely different shapes, landscapes, their colours, everything. It's which one do we live on?
Yeah, the shapes change every time of the countries.
Yeah.
And also, if they are capturing, shouldn't it be spinning? So wouldn't it be, I don't know, like
Shouldn't it be blurry?
blurry?
Yeah, and
Was that that?
1,000 kilometres an hour or something. It's travelling.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like
And it's
that.
weird that that this little disclaimer comes up, on Wiki whenever anyone tries to search flat Earth. The flat Earth model is archaic and scientifically disproven conception of Earth's shape as a plane or disk. I mean, like, what have we seen for the last couple of years every time we post something on social media about a certain virus? The same little disclaimer comes up.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And it's just started happening recently with what is it, climate change as well. You
Yeah.
post something about that, a little disclaimer comes up. So, like, geez, how silly do they think we are?
Yeah. And this, truth is picking and choosing. It's, if the truth is the truth, you can't turn a blind eye to it. And it's probably the most important topic out there at the moment is the true shape of where we actually live. Because, if they, if people believe they live on a ball, they can be manipulated through the media and through governments. We're not a disc floating in space through for a heliocentric model. That's just another meme that comes out from the Flat Earth Society that, I think Obama was promoting that one,
Mm.
but
But you were
We're
saying that
actually
perhaps, sorry, Casey,
that's
I was just saying that Flat Earth Society is not actually for Flat Earth at all.
no,
You
no
know,
way.
no.
No, but if you Google flat Earth, it'll take you to a disinformation website straight away,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see a heap of garbage like what we're seeing on the screen right now. These planets, but there's a flat Earth in the image. Not on this one, but
Instead of the heliocentric globe,
yeah,
they put in a flat disc type looking thing that looks like it's melting or something
so,
on the
yeah. So
edges.
they say,
Yeah.
oh, we're a disk floating through space. That's not that at all. The
so
sun
can
and the
you
moon are working.
explain to us? So do you mind explaining to us, Darcy, what you think it actually is? So some people might assume that that's what we're trying to say here, that it's a
Yeah,
flat planet floating in space. So what are we trying to say?
it's an infinite plane, and there's evidence of more land. While everyone's thinking that we're living on a spinning ball, they can make us think, oh, we're running out of food, running out of water, we're climate change, we're running out of resources, overpopulation.
Scarcity.
Whereas, what if there was more land out there? So, we don't
More
really know
land,
for
more
sure.
resources.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
land,
Yeah.
more resources. And I think that's where Antarctica comes into this story, is what's
Right.
behind the ice wall. Because if you have extra land, that's extra terror. And if there were people living on the extra terror, they would be extraterrestrials from the outer space. We haven't got time to be talking about little green men in spaceships. There's probably more land out there,
Mm-hmm.
and there's too much evidence to ignore.
Yep.
Definitely.
Mm.
All right, so let's use this to get back to Captain Crook, or Captain Cook, sorry.
Yep.
So we mentioned him at the end of our last episode, Darcy, our last video.
Yep.
So between 1772 and 1775, the British exploring expedition led by James Cook was the first to circumnavigate Antarctica. It was also the first to cross the Antarctic Circle on the 17th of January, 1773. So you mentioned, Darcy, to us, which is kind of why we've, gone down this rabbit hole, that you believe that Captain James Cook was possibly in search of Antarctica during his years of exploration in the late 1700s, before his untimely death.
Or possibly a passage through Antarctica.
Oh.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's watch this video that you sent us, and then we'll discuss.
All right.
We don't have an exact map, but this is the most accurate map, and I'll show you how it is accurate. And this is Antarctica. This is the shoreline of Antarctica. Okay, so if anyone tried to circumnavigate that, well, they'd have a problem. It's gonna take longer. It's gonna take a long time. Captain Cook did it. Took him 3.5 years. He tracked over 60,000 miles. How do you go 60,000 miles? How do you go 60,000 miles around something that's only 10 or 13,000 miles?
Okay, so that's pretty wild, right? What he's talking about there, who you call the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. David Weiss.
He's great.
He's really good. He's put out some really great information for us to continue our research. And it's how is it possible that he clocked up 60,000 miles? Okay, when if you look at the Earth's circumference, and we'll get to that in a minute, I think, but that's said to be 40,000 miles. How is it wider as you go towards the pole? Isn't it supposed to be
lower parallel of the equator?
Yes. So,
and you could get a ball. You could draw a straight line on any ball. You'll get the exact same measurement because it's a sphere.
Right.
So it's 60,000. Like, you spend a bit of time out there around the Tahiti and New Zealand by the look of it. So we'll give them actually a couple of miles off each sleeve, but 60,000, that's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on a
Right.
globe, you can see he did spend so much time in the Pacific. Like there was something
Yeah,
he
there's
was
something
looking
there.
for. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because see, that's another thing. It's Australia was New Holland for almost, was it 300 years?
Mhm.
Like 1400s, I think it was New Holland, and he goes past Australia and he's floating around the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
Like, yeah, and this is in the middle of the Napoleon Wars too. Like, the world was at war at the same time.
Yeah.
That's right. The French.
Like, so why would you waste your time out there?
Mm, that's right. Unless that
Mm,
was, there was something more going on
mm,
behind the scenes that, it's been hidden from us all.
Mm.
yeah,
And it's actually interesting because he never actually made it to Antarctica. I think the claim was that he was just shy. How many? Let me see. I think he was shy 150 miles from the mainland.
yeah, that's nothing.
I know he was right there, like,
Yeah.
but he missed it.
Mm,
So yes, I just might quickly read this, will I?
Yeah.
The length of the coastline of Antarctica is purported to be roughly 11,000 miles in circumference. Yet, interestingly enough, in 1773, Captain James Cook, the first modern explorer to have breached the Antarctic Circle and reached the ice barrier. Well, they're saying he did. They're saying that he did reach the ice barrier. I don't know on this in this particular. But
I
anyway,
think he reached the ice barrier, but not the
not the
mainland. Yeah.
mainland. Okay,
Mm,
so
That's a different one.
during 3 voyages lasting 3 years and 8 days, sailed a total of, as David Weiss said, 60,000 miles along the Antarctic coastline, never once finding an inlet or passage through or beyond the massive glacial wall. This expedition proves that the globular hypothesis of Earth is not an accurate portrayal of our geography, as this voyage would have taken Captain Cook and crew around Antarctica nearly 5.5 times on the globe. Yet this southern circumnavigation works perfectly on a flat Earth map. Funny that.
Mm.
yeah. Whoops.
Whoops. But yeah, he certainly did spend quite a bit of time poking around the Pacific,
Looking
didn't
for
he?
a way
He
through the
did.
ice wall. That's what he was
Mm.
doing.
So let's keep an eye on that area in the Pacific, shall we?
No, I think we really should.
Yeah.
So, David Weiss, who we've mentioned now a couple of times, he's like us, don't you reckon? He
Mm,
didn't want to be a flat earther. Like, he didn't wake up in
no.
one day and say, I'm going to become a flat earther. Like, I think we already know, like, people, we get treated very differently
Mm,
if we do bring that up to our normie friends, right?
yeah. But it's not so bad now. I think so many people are waking up to this. Like, like I think no one likes being lied to, and it's just so much coming out, like on all angles. But I think this one's starting to dominate.
Mm. The deception is pretty deep here, and I
Yeah,
think people are tired of the lies, and
yeah.
they're willing to see that possibly there is.
Mm,
I mean, this is the biggest lie. If we had to say of all the lies we've been told, this is the biggest lie.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And it's like the globe. Like I said earlier, the globe's a prison for the mind. As soon as you know who you are and where you're standing, and you know who the boss is, these controllers. They can't control you anymore. Like, fair enough, you got to live in the world, but
They've
it's
lost their
weird.
power.
Yeah, they lose their power. It's like their weird sense of freedom, that you feel. And it's interesting though, because because I'm so awake to it now, I can actually I just feel my body's more alive. I feel like a lot more is working. I can
Mm.
actually feel my brain thinking. I can feel my arms get the message from the brain to pick something up. I'm more aware of who I am and my surroundings. So
You're more attuned to yourself.
yeah, that's the word I was trying to find. But
Mm-hmm.
it's strange, but it's awesome stuff.
Good. Yeah.
But last year I'd be quite careful on who I'd speak to because it was extremely touchy subject for a lot of people. But now it's a lot easier to just talk to people and say, hey, what's actually going on?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, the last few
Mm.
years have just really shaken everybody up, I think,
Yeah.
and those who are willing to wake up a little bit more and be open
Yeah.
to this are spreading good information. So, like us today, for example,
Yeah.
we're just trying to make sense and connect the dots. And when we do look, let's have a quick look now at this globe. And just, let's just make sense of this. So we're told that the Earth's circumference is 40,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
So, and yet the poles are the same, right? And they're at, I think the Antarctic is roughly, and why don't we just stay with kilometers, 16,000 kilometers. And yeah, I'm not even sure whether we can convert it to miles. Sorry, it's about 10,000 miles, but still very, very narrow as it goes down towards the bottom and the top, of the poles, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So,
it just,
the lower part, like Cook's Voyage, should have only been 15,000.
that's it.
Yeah, if anything.
That's right.
It took it 3.5 years.
So it makes you really think just how wide,
Mm.
right, the southern hemisphere per se, whatever you want to call it, really is, right?
Mm.
Mm.
So we're just lied to about everything. So even the sizes of the oceans are much bigger than what we've been told.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that what we're saying here?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. And you look at this is the north, and they lump in Greenland into the Arctic Circle, and of course it's roughly the same size as the Antarctic, and the circumference is 16,000 kilometers. But what's interesting is somebody made mention that the majority of the Arctic is actually ocean or water.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a little bit confused about that. Like, what is it, land? And do you notice too, like it's always just white out. There's no terrain, it's just white.
Mm.
Like, what's going on there?
Well, on the old maps too, they got the 4 islands that are now being wiped off. It's just a big splodge of ice there.
Just covered up with liquid paper.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Antarctica. So now remember, Australia is set to claim some 2.5 million square miles, or 6.475 thousand square kilometers of the Antarctic continent. That's a huge area of land, right?
Mm-hmm.
Massive. So look how big Australia is. Go back to that other slide.
Yep.
Sorry, JoJo.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So nearly the same size as Australia.
Yep.
Massive.
Down in the Antarctica. So that doesn't really make sense either, does it, when we're looking at the sizes, the kilometers, the
circumference or just the size?
circumference, yes, of
Yeah.
the poles and everything.
Yep.
It's
I
very
don't think there's
confusing.
actually any correct maps anywhere, really. But the Gleason map is the one we refer to the most on the flat Earth. That's the most accurate map. But yeah, it's huge. It's a huge, ridiculous size.
It is, and Australia's huge, right? I mean, but even then, is that actually how big we are? Who knows, right?
Mm.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
I don't believe
Casey, you know
anything
how big
anymore.
it is. You've been traveling around a bit.
It's bloody huge.
Massive. Yeah.
Where are you now, Casey, right now?
We're just near Stanley in Tasmania.
Awesome.
Fantastic. You will definitely be able to to tell us just how big Australia is, just on how many miles you clock on your or kilometers you clock on your drives.
Yeah, for sure. So are we going to watch a video now, I think?
Yes. Darcy, actually, this is really cool. Darcy shared this with on his Instagram page. He tried to do the circumference of Antarctica, and I think you'd seen it done before. Is that right?
Yeah, I saw a small video. Someone tried to do it, and then I didn't see it again. I thought, I'll give that a go myself. So I had a go, and yeah, I got the exact same result. Check this out.
There you go.
See, anyone can do this with their own phones, and like this is just a cartoon. This is on Google Earth.
It's nearly getting there to the 16, isn't it?
It's nearly there, yeah.
Yep. There you go.
You can do this around Australia. You can put a map around Australia. You can't do Antarctica.
That's crazy.
And the exact same thing happens at the north as well.
Wow. Well, that's just more evidence to me in my eyes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you can do it for every other country, why wouldn't you be able to do it for Antarctica?
So basically what I think they've done is they've just taken, composites and stuck them all together and made the Antarctic shape. And when you try and circumnavigate the actual Google Earth, it doesn't give you the actual land, supposed land. It doesn't actually give you a full circumference because it can't.
Very, very strange. And I know we've looked at some of these logos, right?
Yeah.
We've been looking at these for a good bit. And why is it that these organizations, right? The UN, the International Maritime Organization, World Meteorological Organization, International Civil Aviation Organization, all have what looks to be a flat Earth.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's the flat Earth map.
It is. It so is.
And there's the shape that made around Antarctica. There's your wreath.
Yeah, and look, you even made a point in that spot. There's a star right there.
Yeah, X marks the spot.
Yep. Is that where that gap is, where we can actually get through the ice wall there?
It might possibly be. Like it's certainly the same area where Captain Cook spent a lot of time. And you can see on the left side of the screen here that there's an opening in that one as well. And there on the supposed projection of more land on the outer space, and we don't know. We're just going off the evidence that's been left behind or left lying around by these other people. But we've been given this technology and all this information. We're just not making anything up. We're just looking at what they left behind.
Yeah.
So there's another gap. It's in the same spot in the Pacific.
So this one here is this is a portrait exhibited inside the UN building. It showcases a flat Earth map, which is their logo, with the sun and moon cycles, along with more land outside the Antarctic ice wall.
Yeah.
And like here it says extraterrestrial as well, right? Like that's what you mentioned, the outer space outside of Earth.
So don't look up, look out.
They're just mocking us.
They are.
And there's your wreath again. There's the ice ring. It's a wreath.
Yep. And then this.
Yeah. Shout out to my mate Ben, who pointed out to that one. I was showing him this picture. He just went, "Oh, look, 4 corners of the Earth." I nearly fell over backwards. Like, it's right there in front of us. And they've been saying it for centuries. He sailed his boat to the 4 corners of the Earth. There's apparently 4 angels on the 4 corners of the Earth. It's just so much fun.
Yep. The deeper you go, the more you find out. I know. It doesn't stop, does it?
Yep.
And
well, that saying had to come from somewhere, didn't it? So back in the day, once upon a time, it was well known to everyone that there was 4 corners.
There's a great book.
We even have that show on the ABC in Australia called 4 Corners. Where they talk about all the different stuff happening
around
in the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heck. So much. I'm sure there'd be hundreds of people watching this show. They'd be like, "Hang on a minute, what about this and what about that?" Like this is just showing people, this subject or this argument, and it really does make you think and wakes you up. But there's a great story called The Iron Republic about a politician, who failed some campaign in New York in the turn of the 1800s, to the 1900s. And he sold everything, bought a boat, got a captain, and they just thought he'd travel the world. So they travelled to Antarctica and followed the ice wall, and then they find an opening. And then they go through the opening of the ice wall, and they come across a nation with English-speaking people from Europe who apparently escaped the tyranny that happened in the 1600s. And then he comes back, he wrote a story about it. That was in a Florida magazine. You cannot get a copy of the Florida magazine anywhere. You can get the first edition of Superman or whatever else you want. You cannot find a Florida magazine. And if you do find it, get it quick.
Wow.
Because his story is in the Florida magazine.
Yeah.
But yeah, great book, The Island Republic. There's also two others, The Smoky God, Land Beyond the Poles. Yeah, there's just too much referencing more land.
Yep. So I think we can safely say that Captain Cook was looking for something, right? I think he was looking for the other. I'm not even sure. I was even considering he was looking for, Atlantis or Mu or one of those ancient civilizations. I don't know. That's what I initially thought he was searching for. But now it makes so much sense that he was in fact looking for these outer lands, possibly.
Yeah. And I'm quite sure he would have taken Australia as well anyway, but that's a lot of time to be spending out in the middle of the Pacific. When you're trying to start a new colony.
Especially when you already knew Australia was taken, right?
In search for the Great South Land, inverted commas.
Yep.
So many questions. All right. So, Darcy, you brought up a great point from our last episode, pointing out the map that they used in the Truman Show, which I have watched that again since we talked about it in our last episode. Yes, so much to pick up once you look at it with new eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what did you notice about this map, Darcy?
Well, I noticed, it's seeing north pointing arrows in that certain spot in the Pacific as well. And that's not a normal Mercator projection. Well, give them one thing, it is an American film, so America's on the middle of that map. But all the Mercator projections I've seen have usually got Australia in the middle with South America and Africa. Oh, there you go.
So what's this one? No, what's this one? Do you know what this one
again?
That's a different one again. Okay, but is this
so
the
that
one?
must be? Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So that could be just a normal thing. So
depending on
interesting
depending on where you are, like Europe would have this one and Australia would have.
More than likely.
Oh, interesting. If anybody knows, let us know. What's the standard map meant to
look like? I just love how the north pointing arrow is just stuck in that little spot on the Pacific though.
Oh, I know. This one right here.
She's right there.
Yep.
Yeah. With all the flags underneath. Wow.
Let's quickly take a look now at this map. Now, this is the Gleason's map that we're kind of familiar with now because we've seen it numerous times floating around, especially in our community. What do you know much more about this, Darcy? Darcy's Instagram picture, isn't it? Your Instagram picture?
That's wonderful. Yeah, I've got it on there somewhere.
Yeah. So can you tell us a bit more about this map? Do you know when it was created and all of that?
What's it say at the top? It's a Gleason's map. It was on the production of. It's written at the top there.
Yeah, I can't see it. Let me see if I can read that. We can look it up.
New standard map of the world as it is.
This is the Gleason's map. This is where the basis for the flat Earth map comes from.
Basically, yeah. And you'll see, military still use radar. With the same sort of same sort of map.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's a great documentary actually. I'll send it to you. It's also military whistleblowers talking about the submarines even how do submarines go? How does the radar work on a submarine under the ocean?
It's got to be flat.
Hills and valleys and stuff. They can pinpoint targets over 100 miles. So, how can their radar go over a curve?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be
Go
flat.
around a curve. Yep, it's got to be flat.
Mm.
Yep. And let's quickly take a look where else we've seen the flat Earth. Now, this one here, this is on Air Force One.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, what is that? Like, why would they have a flat Earth?
Yeah. Interesting too is that Antarctica looks like it's
connected.
It's in 3 parts.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah. Except maybe there isn't an ice ring. Maybe it's just off limits to 60 degrees south. It's off limits.
Mm-hmm. And then this one, you'll, Casey, I don't know if you've been to Darling Park, but they installed this beauty, and we talked about it in one of our episodes, I think, too. But
yeah, I think I did a post on this on Instagram a while back because I saw a picture online, but I didn't actually know where it was.
Yeah,
in Sydney, and it's just in like that's the gardens of an apartment building.
Wow.
Yeah,
that would have been your obelisk video. I think you did.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. But this one says the obelisk here, Tower of Babel piercing the dome.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what it's all about. It's this weird cult that's come all the way from Egypt.
Yep.
So we can see quite a lot of activity just over past history of a lot of activity in the Pacific there. And there's a great video I found about a guy. It's actually on the Flat Earth app. We'll talk about that later. But it was a video of the container ships, and it disappears off the map. On the Mercator projection, it goes out into Antarctica, it disappears, and then comes back.
Let's take a look.
Hey there, everybody. Guess where we're going to start? We're going to start with the marine traffic map down here in the Southern Ocean. We had a look at the marine traffic map the other day when we were looking at Ireland, ports and ships, as you can see. These are all ships, all registered, all crossing the ocean, and each one has to send out its signal. Now, what you can see down here is what people call Antarctica ice shelf, okay? So, what the fuck is this? And what the fuck is this? And this? These are ships. What are they doing 500 miles stuck into the ice? So this ship here has been picked out, right? It has to give off a signal. It has to transpond. It has to let the marine traffic map know where it is. And it isn't going to lie as to where it is. The lie here is all this white stuff. Yeah? So we go in and we have a little look at this particular boat. So it can be pulled up and then it gives out its details. It has to tell you what it is. Yeah? So when they get into the details of the ship, 300-400 miles down into the Antarctic ice, and it gives off no gross tonnage, doesn't give off any information. Dead weight, nothing. Owner, managers, nothing. The timeline of the vessel, its timeline, nothing. Okay? No hull number, no capacity, no word on contact information, the gearing, nothing. But guess what it does say? It says that this ship is registered in the sovereign state known as Kiribati. Would you believe it? This even gets funnier. So here we go. This is Kiribati. This is a tiny atoll in the South Pacific. It's basically a sand atoll, sand sticking up out of the ocean. And it has 4 villages on it, right? One is called London, one is called Paris, the other is called Poland, and the last one is called Banana, right? So these sand people living out here down in the very southern part of the Pacific Ocean have got ships. And that ship that we were looking at, we'll get back to it in a second, is 560 meters long and 80 meters wide. Now, what on earth is a ship that size registered in this place, doing 300 miles stuck into the ice down in Antarctica? Yeah, so in the details of the ship, basically all you're getting is its length, its width, and where it's registered out of, and nothing else. So let's go and take a little look at what's going on down in Kiribati. Hear this.
A crucial game of geopolitical chess is unfolding in the Pacific Islands. At the center of this game is a small archipelago called Kiribati, which has caught Beijing's attention, it seems. In May, while the pandemic was raging across Europe, US and China decided to open its embassy in Kiribati. It became the fourth nation after Australia, Cuba and New Zealand to do so. China was able to open an embassy thanks to Kiribati's pro-Beijing president, Taneti Mamao. In September 2019, President Mamao led the campaign to switch Kiribati's diplomatic alliance from Taiwan to mainland China. Just last week, President Mamao won the re-election against a candidate who opposed this diplomatic switch. The election was fought around how Chinese funds would be spent by the nation. China's outreach to Kiribati reeks of its debt trap approach. Much like it did in Africa, China will flood Kiribati with credit and take off strategic resources if it fails to repay them. And China said it invested $1.9 million in cash and medical supplies to help the Pacific Island nations combat COVID-19.
Yeah, do you know what's going on here? Do you know what the Chinese are after? They're after the freaking ship's registrar. They're going to walk all over these people. Obviously, they've brought medical supplies down for them so that they can tackle the cold down in that tropical southern Pacific island. They want that place. They want the ship's registry, if they don't have it already. But all these people that make up a carpet, they don't want them. They don't want them there. This is what's going on in the world. People aren't making the connections. China walked in there and handed them $10 billion, right? What are they going to do? Like, run across the sand dunes to one another and wave it at one another?
How wild is that, guys?
Crazy.
Nuts. I didn't know a lot of that. I hadn't heard about any of that before, so that was just mind-blowing.
Yeah, new one for me too, like only like a couple of weeks ago as well. Like even though I've already researched flat Earth for the last 2.5 years or 3 years, definitely makes you question. You know what's out there and why are they taking our resources? So we're flat out trying to keep up with the cost of living enough as it is. Can't even put fuel in the car, and they're taking container ships off the face of the earth. You know.
It'd be good to be able to speak to someone that's on one of those ships.
Yeah, but how do they stay quiet? Like, that's my question, is like how many people would be, like how many sailors would be on there, and how would they just keep them, like how I couldn't keep my mouth shut. Do you know what I mean? Like I would be
They
hopeless on
probably
one
have
of
to
these.
sign something and then, get
Oh,
threatened.
that's right. They probably sign, there's something, a clause, yeah.
But
But I
there are
mean,
some people that I think I heard a story about a guy who did work on Antarctica, and he was talking to his neighbour and noticed a flat Earth bumper sticker, and he said, "Oh, you know about the flat Earth?" And he said, the young guy's like, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, there's cities in Antarctica, but I can't talk about it until I'm 102 or something."
oh
And
gosh.
yeah, I think, I don't know if it's on one of Dave's videos. I heard him talking about it, but he actually signed an agreement that he wasn't allowed to talk about it. But hopefully he's still alive. But he said there's cities and more country out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you think about China and its interests, right, in this these tiny islands in the Pacific
Mhm.
that, you know, they don't have very much to offer, right? What do they
No.
have to offer? Nothing. They don't really have resources, but China's willing to throw all this money at them, and like you said, Casey, probably building hospitals and doing all these things and offer all these things up to them. But you know, what are they like? They said, what are they going to do with all that cash anyway? Like, where can they spend it? It just doesn't make any sense. But it does make sense when you realize that these huge container ships are registered here.
Yeah.
You know, like then you're like, okay, clearly there's something bigger, right? Much bigger than what
But
we're told.
yeah, like similar to like, the offshore accounts that all the rich people hide their money
The
in.
Swiss accounts.
Yeah.
Mm. And you start to think
Where they
about
hide
their
their
assets.
their shipping logs and all that weird stuff that's going on down there.
But we talked about the Antarctic Treaty in the last episode, and I can't help but think, what happens if there is a nation that can fight back, and can this cause a global conflict? Like
Most
Then the
definitely.
treaty can be broken. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
2048,
Russia?
guys.
Yeah. But they'll kick it down. They'll extend it some way.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. But like, this was really weird, wasn't it, guys? I don't know what to think of this.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you will
it's
not
odd.
hear this in the mainstream news.
No. And how is this okay anyway? Just in 2020. 2020, that's 2 years ago. Like, this is not acceptable any time period, actually. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know if it's symbolic, as like we're walking all over you, or it could just in fact be a traditional custom. They may do that to anyone important who comes. I don't know.
Possibly.
We have to look into it, I guess.
Yeah, we sure do. All right, so we talked a little bit earlier. I think we maybe mentioned flight paths and how would pilots navigate and sailors navigate on a globe. But I mean, you actually mentioned to us, Darcy.
Yeah.
You talked about the various flight paths and the emergency landings, right? What have you got to share?
Yeah, it's a great book called 16 Emergency Landings on a Flat Earth. And there's actually 17 of them now, but it's not actually in this book. But yeah, it's right there. Like, there's no direct flight from Peru to Auckland. If you want a direct flight, you have to go through Los Angeles and then back down to. So you cross the equator twice.
Oh yeah,
but on
that doesn't make any sense.
No, but on a flat map, it's almost a perfect straight line.
Oh yeah, yep.
There's a few others there. Any more pictures?
Oh, sorry, just the fact that. Oh, sorry.
It comes in all languages too.
Yeah, that's it. I was actually saying that, Casey. I'm like, can you believe this emergency landings book actually comes in other languages? Like, that's amazing. So there's not just English-speaking countries that are sort of waking up and questioning this. It's other nations
from all over the place.
Yep.
But there's that picture again. If you want to go, If you want to go from South America to Australia, you've got to go through the United States first. And and again, like lower parallel of the ball, it should be only like 10 hours max flight, but it's like 26 hours or something.
Yeah, that's insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there's zero north to south circumnavigation. East to west, millions and millions of times, but north to south, zero. There was one guy, apparently Guinness World Records gave him the prize for circumnavigation, but he basically ran down one side of the world and back up the same side, and they gave him the award for it.
Of course they did.
it wasn't an actual. He didn't go around the pole.
Mm.
He just, it's like racing with your mates when you're a kid down to the street lamp, touching it, and then running back. It's no different, or doing laps in a pool.
Mm.
But they gave him the world record for circumnavigation, north to south. But surely by now it'd be, commercial flights or whatever, north to south on a daily basis. But no, it's all east to west.
Mm-hmm.
This is just things that people just don't think about. Hey,
No.
like it's not something that's really ever
Yeah.
discussed. So you get on your plane and you go where you go because that's the way that they tell you that it's going. But when you think about it,
I think there is a direct flight from South America to Australia, but I think they're either going 10 times quicker, or I'm not sure if it's even a real flight route, or I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into that, but they claim there is actually a flight path from South America to Australia, but I haven't actually looked into that as much.
Mm.
Okay.
But if there is, they're going pretty quick to make up the time.
Right. Interesting.
Mm.
So you sent me this video, Darcy, as well. And is this your mate? I'm not sure. Do you know who this is? Duranism?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, he's one of the flat earthers. I've spoken to him a couple of times over text on the Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But he makes puts out some great material.
Yeah, I thought this was great. So if anyone,
he's more Dave Weiss's mate. Really, they work pretty well together. They put a lot of their videos together. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking perhaps we can just share the link to this particular video here that really does, he explains that just how impossible it is to circumnavigate north, south, north.
Oh yeah, that's on. Yep.
So we'll definitely add the link there. And he also mentions that the southern hemisphere is so much larger than what we're told, which is what we've kind of talked about with Captain Crook and his travels. But when you look at the flight track, so you look at this kind of thing too. This is actually from his video too. I snatched that from
thank you,
from
Jared.
his thank you, mate, because this is actually what it looks like when we are flying, in my opinion. Like we are on a flat plane, and you can only go
planes fly
in a circle. Yep. Did you see this, Darcy?
Yeah, I did. There's another one.
Oh, this is look, you liked it. So Flat Earth Products shared this with us, guys. How funny is this?
Yeah.
So they say this man crossed Antarctica alone and in record time. This is 2018. Look at where he crossed. Like that little tiny
little corner.
Here's the thing, it's so massive. You wouldn't, if you're 100 miles in the ice, you wouldn't know how big it is. Like, it's so massive, that area.
Mm.
Yeah.
So how can he make that claim? I've crossed Antarctica. It's like that guy that you just said.
Yeah.
That he got a record
circumnavigated.
Yeah. They're just making shit up.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Just so weird.
Yeah.
Odd.
We'll look out.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
This was a very interesting map, Darcy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, did you want to talk a little bit about on
I'd like to talk about this because caught my attention, this one, because we know about the Bank of England, the Bank of London, the global banks, and the control over the world. And this is a good meme. It's on the great picture you'll find on the Flat Earth app. There's a bunch of pictures there for reference. And I was like, oh wow, check that out. If you draw a diagonal line between each flag, that will make up the Union Jack. So are we living under a blanket system?
Mm.
Yep. I mean, and if you look at each one of those locations, Darcy, they're
all military bases,
and they're the UK. They're under British.
Yeah, under British rule. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not four corners, I see eight.
Oh, yeah, 8 points on the flag, yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of the land masses closest to what we assume is an
Yeah.
ice wall, or
Yep,
could be an ice wall, are all owned
by the British.
by the UK.
Yeah, so all these wars, and the politics in the world, it's all under this one big blanket system, just keeping us occupied and in the fear, in
Distracted.
completely distracted. At such a level that people would actually go onto a battlefield and shoot at each other. It's crazy, and it's been going on for ages. Now, apparently, the Union Jack is not the actual official flag of England, but they use it. Saw on Wikipedia. Yeah,
How interesting. I know, but it's interesting because I didn't even know where the Union Jack originated from. So this is where it actually originated from. So Scotland, which is St. Andrew, Ireland, which is St. Patrick,
and St. George.
And England, St. George, and together that creates this double cross.
They double crossed us, all right.
They double crossed us.
And that's a cool story. That's cute.
It is cute. but all of the Commonwealth nations, all of us got it slapped on our flag.
Yep. And there's hundreds of them.
Hundreds.
Well, I should say thousands. Is there thousands? Almost.
Oh, possibly. I don't know. But,
all the states as well.
It is. But you know what I found interesting, guys? Like Captain Cook, right? He was killed in Hawaii. And for whatever reason, though, Hawaii's flag has the Union Jack as well. And they were never part of the Commonwealth.
No.
And I was always curious about
why that was. It's the US, isn't it?
It's part of the US. It's a 50th state of the US.
Yeah.
So I've always been curious as to why that was on there. So I did do a little bit of research, and it says here, Hawaii's state flag resembles the Union Jack of Great Britain because many of King Kamehameha's advisors were British, and the islands were once placed under England's protection. The flag consists of 8 horizontal stripes representing the 8 major islands of the British Union Jack. Now, this island's in the Pacific. There's several islands in the Pacific that make up Hawaii. And I understand, fair enough, one of the biggest explorers, he did go there and there was some unrest and they did kill him. But it still doesn't make sense to me why they would agree that, let's just put the Union Jack on our flag. I don't still don't understand that.
A whole another rabbit hole.
The advisors.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's nuts.
It's weird.
It doesn't make sense.
It's the United Blanket System. That's all I can see.
Oh, 100%. Like they've infiltrated everything, right? Everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And look, this is the monument of where Captain Cook actually was killed.
Yeah. I didn't see anything.
Yes. Still, I think the native people there are a little bit unhappy with his arrival.
Yep.
Still to this day, and of course an obelisk to represent his.
Got to have an obelisk
memorial.
Always.
Yeah. Can't leave that out.
So symbolic.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole Captain Cook narrative is just odd in itself. Everything about it. All right, so back to the flags. So notice most of our newer flags have some constellations, mostly the Southern Hemisphere. So why? Is it a navigational identifier? Like, what is the reason that all of those flags have? Obviously, we know that constellation is in the Southern Hemisphere, but, is there a specific reason? Do you guys know?
I haven't really looked into it, but I can. But yeah, definitely a good, definitely a good question.
Yeah.
But there's a couple there with different constellations again too.
Yeah, true.
But I'm quite sure that they would have used them to navigate. And as Captain Cook spent all that time doing the loop in the Pacific, like I don't believe they would have really got lost at sea because they navigate by the stars.
That's right.
So, by all means, they say, that's just flag of that certain part of the southern hemisphere. So of course, yeah, that's probably why the star's there.
Yep.
Mm.
Yep. So they say that basically because of its orientation in the night sky, the Southern Cross has historically served as an essential navigational guide. There you go. Two of its major stars from a line that points to the South Pole, pole, I don't know if we're going to call it pole, to the south. The Southern Cross is also featured in the flag of several Southern Hemisphere countries. So it's also known as the crux.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the smallest of the 88 official constellations defined by the International Astronomical Union.
Mm,
There you go.
interesting. And
Yep.
has been hijacked by bogans all over Australia.
That's so true. That tattoo. I nearly got one.
Oh, JoJo, I'm so glad you
Really?
did. I wouldn't be able to
You'll have to do it now.
No way. Look, the only reason I was going to get it was because when I lived in Hawaii for 18 years, I missed Australia so much, and I thought that was going to be like my connection to Australia. But no, I didn't do it. I did not do it.
Well,
Could have
Thank
happened
goodness
though.
for that.
that's another thing. Southern navigation. Like, we've all got compasses, and we have magnetic north. So, it's interesting. We don't hear it too often now, but I used to say, the water flows in a different direction in the toilet in the southern hemisphere that does in the northern hemisphere.
Oh, yeah, true.
The
Yeah, remember that?
Simpsons episode.
Yeah. So if our
Simpsons.
compasses point north in the northern hemisphere, and we go past the equator, why don't they spin around to the southern, the South Pole? The compasses should switch around, so we could go south all day long. Then the compass will keep pointing north. So there isn't actually a North Pole, a South Pole. Sorry.
A South Pole. Mm.
Yeah, there's no actual pole in the south. You can get a south pointing compass, but all they've done is put the red paint on the other end of the needle, really.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they're hard to get.
And what about
Well, I've
this,
never
guys?
seen them anyway.
This one. This is what blows me all the time. Is the fact that the stars, after thousands of years, are still aligned to some of our megaliths or some of these, important structures across our world, our realm.
Apparently, the tectonic plates keep floating. Was it how many millimeters per year? But the stars line up perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're told that we're speeding through outer space, yet the constellations never change.
Yeah.
And I actually did, Casey, we talked about this a little bit when we were doing our research for the ley lines. I don't know if you remember, but the Chinese have mapped the night sky for centuries, and they even use it to predict future events. And the emperors would always, without fail, have astronomers on the books. Like they had astronomers constantly working for them to keep accurate records to track the movements of the stars, and it doesn't change. And it's just, to me, if these ancient civilizations, like older civilizations, Chinese, thousands of years ago, were mapping the stars, and it hasn't changed today. Like that makes you think too, doesn't it? Like we're not moving.
No, well, that's like in the Graham Hancock documentary that we were discussing recently, JoJo, the apocalyptic archaeology. He talks a lot about astro-archaeology and how it's a lot of archaeologists don't want to make that connection in modern times. They choose to ignore that part. The fact that these some of these structures, they're dating back to the ice age. These ancient civilizations that actually built in relation to
the stars, constellations. Yep.
So we can't ignore that kind of stuff. There's a reason. There's something that's the sky hasn't changed.
No.
If we're flying through space in a ball, spinning around,
Yeah. We're going for that black hole they keep talking about. It's going to swallow. It's going to swallow us up.
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy the world while you got it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And that's another thing too. Captain Cook was in Tahiti to map the sky. There's some.
Wasn't it the passing of Venus over the moon or something?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, or the moon passing under it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they done the secret mission to the Great South Land. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, I think we might need to do a bit of a special on Captain Crook.
Yeah.
And maybe do a little bit of
rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah, we might have to
like
trace some of
captain
his trace his steps and go dig a bit deeper.
Yeah. Most important.
What was that,
fleet
Darcy?
Captain of the most important fleet since the discovery of America, and then left to the mercy of the islanders. But what's going on there?
Yeah. Something's up.
Mm.
So what's this here that we've got as well, Darcy? This is something else that you discovered.
This is a Japanese map that was found in Hawaii. That was printed in the Hawaiian newspaper. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, look, there's another flat Earth map with more lands on the outside. So yeah, Star Wars could be a real thing. There could be other nations out there with,
So how big do you think this dome is then? Like, if we are, like, is it just? We don't know. Hey, we don't know.
We're not afraid to say we don't know. We'd like to go look, but we're not allowed to because of the Antarctic Treaty. And there's that video of the guys fishing. They get turned around by the military.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they went too far south. So we just want to be able to go and have a look and find out for ourselves instead of relying on these people that are sending container ships out into the ice and giving us this garbage that we've been forced to learn this crap since for 500 years now. Our technology's gone it's gone past the narrative. So and they say, sticks and shadows. Well, that works better on a flat Earth because it's you hold a torch over over two sticks. There's going to be shadow on one and no shadow on the other. And they say, they put the sticks out at the same time. Well, did they have iPhones to know what time to put the sticks out? Like so didn't ring them up and say, let's put it out now. It's sort of how do they know they're putting the sticks out at the exact same time as they were 500 miles apart? So it's just a garbage story, and they're probably not even real characters. Like, who are these people? Copernicus and they're just stories. There's a great video called Level, and they go into a lot more detail.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's really, guys, just question what we're talking about. Like, it's just there's just too much here to ignore.
Yeah, there's so much evidence. Hey,
yeah, this globe model's only 50 years old. Like, before in the 1930s, they weren't even teaching this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, so after our last episode went to air, we were inundated on Instagram and our email with tidbits and little bits and pieces of information, videos, things people were sending us. And so this was one that we found really interesting. And yeah, just take a look.
Okay, guys, how cool is that?
Yeah. So
That's
apparently,
amazing.
a few people said there's multiple. There's more than one that people have heard of or seen on maps, as well as a lot of volcanoes. So we mentioned in our last video how a lot of the older depictions that were painted had these active volcanoes in them, and apparently people have contacted us, and apparently yes, that's true. There are
Wow.
numerous volcanoes. I think we've got a slide, have we, Jojo, with a bit more information? Or
Yeah, so Merrin, who's actually one of our longtime friends and subscribers, I've actually met with her in person, so she's so lovely. She did make a comment, and she said that volcanoes are still active in Antarctica, and Mount Erebus smokes away all the time. She also mentions that her ex has flown over it many times, and that you can see the smoke from a plane. So it is pretty cool, and yeah, this really captured my attention. Is the volcano which erupts solid gold, Mount Erebus. What?
That's pretty crazy.
Solid gold.
Solid gold.
Solid gold.
Wow.
Is that what they want? Is that what they're hiding down there? Resources.
Well, yeah.
Gold.
Any wonder it's off limits.
That's right.
Heck. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
No.
There you go.
Yeah,
but
absolutely
can we just
crazy.
go back to what Merrin said? Because I just want to say what piqued my attention was that Merrin's ex had flown over Antarctica multiple times, right, Darcy? So
Yeah.
Yes.
I said to Jojo, can you please find out why? Because
Yeah. What's he
I want to
doing,
know
man?
why.
Yeah.
So then
I know.
she asked.
But it wasn't that exciting,
No,
guys.
it
I did
wasn't.
ask, and it's not as exciting as we were
He's
hoping.
probably
We
not
thought
allowed to
maybe.
tell you.
Well, no, he's actually he's a teacher, or he was a teacher at a college, and he would coordinate tours to Antarctica for his students. And so he would coordinate these tours, and they would leave from Melbourne, and they would go. It would be like a 4-hour flight down there, a couple hours,
Do one of those flights.
floating around down there, going to wherever they're allowed to go, and then spinning back up to Melbourne. But yeah, it wasn't as exciting. I was hoping to hear that he was a pilot, and there was
military or
gritty
something.
stuff.
Yeah.
No. But maybe
Just a school
she can't
excursion
tell
to
us though. Who knows?
Antarctica.
Just an excursion, just one of those day flights, that you would take to Antarctica. All right, guys. So I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Oh, sorry. That's another thing.
Oh,
is,
sorry.
you hear a lot of people say under the earth is just molten lava, with a core. That's the core is magnetic. Well, when you heat up a magnet, it loses magnetism. And there's never ever been a physical test to measure the molten lava under the earth. The deepest hole that's ever been dug is only 7 miles. So really, these lava pockets that we see in mountains, they could be just pockets of gas that have ignited, either through a forest fire or lightning strikes or anything really, rocks hitting together, some sort of natural form of spark, and they could be burning for hundreds of years before they actually boil out. So, we don't know what's under the earth.
Yeah, true. Just, as I always say, so many questions. So many questions.
It's always so many questions. And every time we do an episode, I think we leave with more questions, don't we? We always,
That's the way it should be, I suppose.
But you know what? That's what makes it interesting. That's what keeps this interesting, guys. Keeps us on our toes, and I think we've covered so many really great topics today, and I think we've got to wrap it up. It's going to be kind of a bit long, but I think our viewers don't mind it if it's a little bit long, from what I understand.
Hmm.
But
Well, you can't learn
Darcy,
this stuff
how?
overnight.
No,
It
but
changes your
you know,
whole life.
it does. And once
Mm.
it gets to, like, you know, Casey and I, for example, we did not expect this to be our lives, did we? I know for me, I did not think this
No,
is going to be my life.
definitely not.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So, Darcy, how do we find you?
Yeah, you can find me just on Instagram, really. It's lowercase Darcy _ Corboy. That's my page there on the side. And I promote the Flat Earth app, David Weiss's app. It's absolutely brilliant. It's free from Google censorship. It's got everything that we've just talked about is on that app, and tons more. It's only $3. It's brilliant. You pay an extra $11 for some extras, but it's just as good without it. But yeah, here it's just the app. It shows the flat Earth, and then you've got different subjects, different YouTube pages that have bypassed the censorship.
Yeah, I didn't realize this. So it's
talk about
kind of
mud
like
flood and
YouTube, but
Tartarian.
without the censorship, right?
Yeah, so it's mainly YouTube videos, and people say, "Oh, you're relying on YouTube." YouTube it's good for pointing someone in a direction. When you see something that sparks your interest, research it. Go past what the mainstream are telling you. So a list of questions back there.
And I find this it's very well organized. That's what I like
very,
about
very
it.
well organized, yeah, and it gets
Yes.
updated all the time. You can see the sun and the moon in real time. It's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. 12 o'clock noon is wherever the sun is. You click the little hand section, you'll see the friend finder app. That's optional, but every one of these blue dots that you see on the screen here are all like-minded people that are that are using an app. Most people don't use the friend finder, but I do. But because
and there's even people in Antarctica.
Yeah, I know. Look at that; they're all the way down there. Like there's two of them down there. But
that's
look how many people have got this app. But most flat earthers don't even know about the Flat Earth app, and it's it's just so much on it, and I recommend everyone to use it. I don't get anything out of it but joy, really. But I promote the app, and it's a very valuable and very useful part of research for me, on my end, really.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, we've got to support our people too, I think.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right.
It's good to have uncensored resources too, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it is.
important.
Yeah.
Maybe this video will make it on there, Darcy.
Well, yeah, I think I did see it on there. Yeah.
Oh, one of our videos is on there.
Is that one of yours?
No, I was just going to say, I think one of ours is actually on there.
Oh, yeah, one of your
but I'm
videos is
hoping
on
that
there. I think it's
yeah.
I think demolishing old world Australia is on there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we'll have to get this one. We'll have to get this one on there next too.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
let's wrap this up, guys. Thank you so much, Darcy, for getting us back on track again. Honestly, it's been so much fun learning about Antarctica and how it relates to flat Earth and or biblical Earth or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it flat Earth. But it is just so much fun to collaborate with our friends and to just get a different perspective, and the best part about our community is that we don't judge, everything's up for discussion, and we've just got to be tolerant to any new information that's presented to us.
Yep. Yeah, don't take it with a pinch of salt. Do your own research. Talk to everyone. Ask questions, research. And just enjoy it. Enjoy everything you have while you have.
And you're not alone, right, Darcy?
No, you're not alone.
You're not alone.
Enjoy every minute of it, is what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But I've been absolutely thrilled to be a member on the show for your first episode back after a well-deserved break. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, thank you very much for allowing me to be part of it.
No worries, Darcy. Anytime. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So, to wrap up this episode, we're going to leave you with a video that was shared to us on a number of platforms, actually. So, this was another one that was sent to us after last episode. And it's amazing. So, thank you to everyone who sent this to us. It is from Edgar Reyes. And it is a slideshow of 61 images of Antarctica. It's called the Ice War Expedition, and it's from Captain Robert Falcon Scott's 1912 expedition. He actually did 2 expeditions. There was an ill-fated Terra Nova expedition in 1910 to 1913 where he actually passed away. But these images are absolutely incredible. So on that note, we will leave you and enjoy. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys. Globular.
think it's
Glob,
just
Yeah,
globular.
globular.
I
Globally, globular.
globally. Oh,
Globe.
shit.
Globe. Think of like globe.
Yep.
Globe. Yeah.
Globular. Okay. Space may be the final frontier, but it's staying in a Hollywood basement.